I worked the graveyard shift at a small gas station off the interstate. After midnight, the doors lock and everything happens through a bulletproof window. It's quiet enough to hear the slush machine breathe. At 1:52 a.m., a silver SUV rolled in, lights off. The driver didn't pull to a pump. He parked between pump 6 and the dumpster, in the blind spot I hated. He came to the window wearing a reflective vest and a maroon hoodie. No name patch. He smiled too wide. "Pump 6 won't read my card," he said. "Can you step out? I think the slot's jammed." I checked the screen from my side. Pump 6 said, "Insert card or pay inside." It wasn't even activated. "Cancel and try again," I said. "I can authorize it here." He leaned close to the glass, palm on the metal ledge. His hand was shaking or tapping. It took me a second to realize he was testing the play in the window drawer, seeing how far it could extend. "Card reader's jammed," he repeated. "Just come look." "I can't leave the booth," I said. "Policy." He stared past me into the store, like he was counting the aisles, then turned and walked back toward pump 6. Halfway there, he put his hood up and veered behind the ice freezer, another blind spot. The hairs on my arms stood up. I zoomed the camera feed. There was someone else crouched behind pump 7, a shape in a dark jacket. 2 people. The first guy reappeared, holding his phone to his ear like he was on a call. He stopped right at the edge of the window's fisheye lens. The handle to the side door rattled. The side door was steel and chained, but hearing it move knocked something loose in me. I slid my foot onto the silent alarm pedal and pressed down. My headset beeped once, alarm sent. "Look," he said suddenly, and slapped the glass with an open hand, smiling like we were old friends. "Just a second. Come on." I didn't answer. I stared at the monitor and read the things I could cling to: camera time, pump numbers, the idle credit card terminal in its cradle. If I focused on numbers, I wouldn't open anything. He tried the side door again. Then I saw it. His vest wasn't a work vest. The reflective strips were peeling at the corners like they'd been glued on. I picked up the phone and dialed 911 with my thumb while keeping my eyes on the glass. I told the dispatcher what I could: maroon hoodie, fake vest, silver SUV, someone else behind pump 7. While I was talking, the second person stood up, quick, like they'd heard. They both moved, fast, back to the SUV. Doors slammed. The SUV reversed without lights and fishtailed out onto the service road. I stayed on the line until the deputy rolled in, lights off but bar glowing. He checked the lot, then came to the window and asked for the footage. He was calm in a way that told me this wasn't the first call like this tonight. An hour later, when things were back to the hum and the slush machine, the deputy called the store. "Your plate is no good," he said. "Stolen off a different vehicle last week. And another station 2 exits north got hit around 2:10. Clerk lured outside to check a pump. They grabbed the register when he propped the door." I went cold. I kept imagining the hand, flat on the glass, testing the give. The next night, I brought a thermos and a Sharpie. I wrote, "Do not exit," on a strip of tape and stuck it across the drawer handle. I didn't need the reminder. I still dream in security camera angles. In the dreams, Pump 6 is always calling my name. Story 2. I used to be a seasonal ranger in a mountain park that closes most of its trails in winter. My job on night patrol was dead simple. Drive the service road to the timberline gate, check locks, log weather, and listen. Training hammered one rule into us. If you hear a call for help off trail at night, you stop, you radio it in, and you don't go into the dark alone. People get turned around. People get desperate. But people also use calls to lure rescuers. The first time I heard it, I was leaning on the hood riding wind speed. A woman's voice carried up on the gusts, faint, but shaped like a word. Help! It came from downslope, somewhere in the stands of fir where the snow line began. I froze, headlamp off, and listened hard. The same word came again, same pitch, same length. Not louder, not closer, like a recording. I keep my radio. Base, this is Ranger 2 at Timberline Gate. Possible call for help downslope, female voice. Holding position. Copy, Ranger 2, dispatch said. Any visual? Negative. Wind is carrying sound. Units en route. Hold. I stood there with the hood ticking as it cooled and the wind climbing. The voice came a third time. Help. Same vowel. Same timing. My brain wanted to imagine breath, a throat, a body in the snow. It didn't feel right. Then I heard my name. Not just Ranger. My last name. In my supervisor's voice. Ranger, redacted. Over here. The radio on my shoulder was silent. The call didn't come through comms. It came from the dark. I backed to the driver's side, dropped into the cab, and shut the door. Windows up. I killed the dome light and watched through the windshield. Headlamp off. The park was a black room with a lighter shadow where the road cut through. The voice called my name again. Same cadence. My supervisor never said my name like that. She clipped it at the end. This one dragged the last syllable, like a loop not quite aligned. I keyed up. Base, is supervisor with you? Affirmative, dispatch said. She's at the station. Copy. I'm holding. When backup arrived, 2 rigs, the 3 of us advanced with headlamps. We found boot prints downslope where the road ended, 2 sets, adult size, and we found something else hung in a tree. A cheap battery speaker in a sock, wired to a little MP3 player. It was playing 3 sounds on loop. A woman saying help, a cigarette lighter flicking, and a male voice testing Ranger. Over here. The radio on my shoulder was silent. The call didn't come through comms. It came from the dark. I backed to the driver's side, dropped into the cab, and shut the door. Windows up. I killed the dome light and watched through the windshield. Headlamp off. The park was a black room with a lighter shadow where the road cut through. The voice called my name again. Same cadence. My supervisor never said my name like that. She clipped it at the end. This one dragged the last syllable, like a loop not quite aligned. I keyed up. Base, is supervisor with you? Affirmative, dispatch said. She's at the station. Copy. I'm holding. When backup arrived, 2 rigs, the 3 of us advanced with headlamps. We found boot prints downslope where the road ended, 2 sets, adult size, and we found something else hung in a tree. A cheap battery speaker in a sock, wired to a little MP3 player. It was playing 3 sounds on loop. A woman saying help, a cigarette lighter flicking, and a male voice testing Ranger. Over here. We killed it and listened. The woods went back to being just wind and snow. 100 meters further downslope, we found cat prints, big ones, pacing the edge of the clearing. Mountain lions follow deer, and sometimes people maybe. Someone had set up a lure where the road ends and waited in the tree line. We never caught them. All we had were prints and a cheap speaker in a sock. I still patrolled with my window cracked just enough to hear the tree's movement. If a voice calls my name out there now, I leave the lights off, make the call, and let the dark talk to itself. Story 3. My first apartment was a basement studio in an old row house. It smelled like dust and warm pipes. The windows were at sidewalk level, so shoes and ankles floated past like fish in an aquarium. I worked late at a cafe, so I'd get home a little after midnight and make the place feel like mine. Lamps on, kettle boiling, a podcast too low to really hear. The first thing I noticed was the cereal box. It was turned backwards one morning, nutrition facts facing out. I don't turn it that way. I assumed I did it half asleep. Then I started finding the bathroom fan on when I came home. I don't use that fan. The cord to my blinds looked a little shorter, knotted higher. Small things. Easy to dismiss. But they build. I tested myself. I placed a single dry rice grain on the top edge of my bathroom door and closed it. When I came home that night, the grain was on the floor. I told myself it fell. I told myself vibration, draft, anything but what I was really thinking. Someone else had been inside my place while I was at work. I called my landlord. He said there was no sign of forced entry, and he was the only one who had spare key. He changed the deadbolt to make me feel better. I slept with the TV show on that night and woke up feeling like I hadn't slept at all. 2 nights later, I set my phone to record audio before I left for the cafe. I hid it under the couch. When I got home after midnight, I brewed tea and listened with headphones. The first 2 hours were apartment noises, the fridge cycling, the upstairs neighbor's steps. Then at 9:13 p.m., my bathroom fan clicked on. A soft shuffle, a door hinge I didn't recognize, and a sound I can still feel in my lungs. A long breath, close to the microphone, like someone kneeling near the couch, listening to where the sound was coming from. I paused the recording and walked around my apartment, heart somewhere up behind my tongue. The front door was locked. The windows were latched. I checked the bathroom. That's when I saw it. For small holes in the drywall high near the ceiling where a vent cover should have been. The cover was on, screwed in, but the paint around the screws looked chewed. My building had a shared crawl space that ran the length of the row house, accessed from a utility closet in the common hall. I'd never opened that door. I called the non-emergency line and explained. A patrol car came. The officers were kind and treated me like I wasn't crazy. We stood in the hall while one of them used a key from the landlord to open the utility closet. The smell hit us first, stale sweat and something sweet, like old soda or something. Inside the crawl space, someone had made a nest. A bedroll on insulation. A plastic grocery bag of food wrappers. A book. A cracked phone with a charger running to an outlet under the main breaker box. And near the vent that connected to my bathroom, a screwdriver and a little dish of screws. Paint flecks still stuck to the threads. We followed the crawl space toward my unit, the beams low enough that you had to duck. You could see into my bathroom if you peered through the slats of the vent. You could hear everything. We didn't find the person that night. The officers thought whoever it was had slipped out when they heard voices. There was a service door to the alley I didn't even know existed. The landlord replaced the vent with a sealed cover and screwed a steel mesh over the crawlspace access. I moved out at the end of the month. A week later, one of the officers called me back. They'd canvassed the alley and found security footage from a shop 2 doors down. It showed a man letting himself into the service door with a key at 8:57 p.m., then leaving at 9:30 with a backpack. No one in my building recognized him. The lock on that door had been changed 3 tenants ago, and nobody could say who still had any copies. Sometimes I wake up certain I hear the bathroom fan and I lie there, counting breaths, waiting for a hand to turn a screw on the other side of the wall. If you've got a true story and permission for me to tell it, then go on. Names and locations can be changed. Lock your doors, trust your gut, and don't answer voices calling from the tree line. Sleep well.